Hi guys, and welcome to Gas City Gaming's overview of the recent rumors and the recent Q&A they actually had about Warhammer 40K 8th edition. They just wrapped up this morning the Q&A with some of the dev team and the community team, so we're going to be having a look at some of the points that I thought were noteworthy from the presentation. Alright, here we go. So the first one that they've reviewed, they actually reviewed it at Adepticon earlier this year, was there isn't going to be a movement stat going forward. So if you've played older editions, this is a return to that. So it's no more, you'll have jump infantry and beasts and infantry and fast skimmers and everything will have different movement depending on its own movement type. For that unit type, it'll actually have a movement stat right in its stat line, toughness 4, strength 4, movement 8 inches. It'll be along with that, so it'll be individually crafted for that specific unit. So this means that races could have different movement. Maybe Eldar infantry will move faster than Space Marines, who will move faster than Necrons. You never know. It could be something like that, but kind of cool. There will be armor modifiers to guns, no more AP values. So going forward, if you have, for example, 2-up armor save, and my weapon has an armor modifier of -2, rather than doing a 2-up save, you'll do a 4-up save for your model. This is kind of similar to if you've ever played Age of Sigmar. Something similar to what they do there. They call it a rend stat in that game on the weapons. I don't know what they'll be doing here, but kind of similar to Age of Sigmar. Charges. In this case, the unit that charges will get to strike first in most cases. We'll get into some things where that can change, but again, in most cases going forward, the charger unit will strike first. It won't be dependent on initiative anymore. The next one is your changes to morale tests, kind of like the Age of Sigmar system. Again, in this case, you'll add a d6 to models, how many models you've lost this turn, subtract that from your leadership, and take that many more casualties. So as an example, if I've lost 4 units this turn, and my leadership stat is 8, I roll a d6. On a 4 or less, I'm equal to or less than 8, so I don't lose any more. But if I roll a 5 or a 6, 5 plus 4 is 9, that's 1 more than my leadership, so I lose 1 more unit. If I roll a 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, 2 more than my leadership, I lose 2 more units. So I actually like that way that they're doing it in Age of Sigmar right now. It makes combat feel more slogging it out. A unit can't be wiped out in one turn all the time anyway. So going forward, this one's actually interesting. They also revealed today that vehicles will have no more armor values going forward. Instead, they'll have a damage table based on how many hull points of damage that vehicle has taken. Different vehicles will have different tables as well. So this could be something like, if I've taken 2 hull points, maybe my ballistic skill goes down, maybe I can't move as fast anymore. It's going to depend on the vehicle, what kind of damage it takes. Also to note in that, vehicles are going to have a lot more hull points going forward because of this, and the same with monstrous creatures as well, are going to have a lot more wounds as well. So that being said, because there's no more armor values, the next point is that everybody can hurt everybody, right? Your guardsman with his little lasgun flashlight can hurt a land raider, can hurt a demon prince, in melee and at range. It will be very difficult for them to do so. They didn't get into the exact die rolls that will need to take place in order for that to happen, but that will be the case going forward. Everybody can hurt everybody. It just would be difficult to do so. Your armies will keep their current playstyle as well, so Eldar will be jumping around, moving, shooting. Orcs will be super choppy still, so don't worry about that. Your armies won't switch out on you. The game is still a D6 system. It's not based around other die or anything else like that. At Adepticon, the people playing took roughly around 3 hours to complete a game of 7th edition Warhammer. Now, some of the people who are playing Adepticon have been playtesting 8th edition for a while now. And some of those same people who are playing, taking 3 hours for a 1,500 point game, are now taking about 90 minutes. So that's nice because it means that you can get a lot more games of Warhammer in a day, which means you get to play against a lot more armies, just have a lot more fun, I think they're going to be removing a lot of the just rules bogged down that we've had in the last few years. Just making it simpler and just making it, you can play more games. And that seems fun. That's something I want to do. They're going to have 3 types of play, like they have in Age of Sigmar. There's going to be open play, narrative play, and match play. Open play is just, I'm going to bring this box of models, you're going to bring that box of models, we're going to play, and we're going to have fun. Narrative play actually does use a point system, but it's a little more lax. You don't have to, you know, okay, I got to pay for this melt gun on this guy. I got to pay to give this guy the 3-up save instead of the 4-up, etc., etc. It's just going to be, okay, I'm going to pay for this unit, and then it'll come with some upgrades. You know, for example, if I'm teaching new people how to play, I'm going to want to play narratively because it'll kind of show them how to build an army without getting bogged down and paying, okay, 5 points for this, 15 points for that. It'll just get them, okay, I want to bring a unit of those guys, okay, 200 points, done, right? And the last is match play. Excuse me, the last is match play, which is what, if you've played 7th edition, you're familiar with. Regular paying points for things, paying for your upgrades, everything like that. Where are we at? All models and scenery currently in the game will transfer over to the new edition. So if you play something a little more obscure, you are not getting left behind. There are rules for every unit and every piece of scenery in 40k right now. There are new rules in 8th edition 4. So you're good. You don't have to worry if you collect something a little more obscure about your faction not making it through, right? Unless you're from Cadia. Oh, too soon? No. Okay. Well, something that's really kind of cool is there are actually 14 different force organization charts now in the main rulebook. There may be more in the Codexes going forward, but in the main rulebook there are 14 different force org charts. And what these do is there's everything from your little allied detachment with, you know, 1 HQ, 2 troops, everything from that up to, they put a picture in the video. You couldn't quite make it out. They were holding a piece of paper, you know, like me holding this. You probably can't read what this says. Same thing. You could see the pictures, but you couldn't make it out. To what looked like force orgs with a lot of stuff in it. And you got anywhere from 0 command points for the really basic one to a lot of command points for the more complex force org charts. Speaking of command points, what those are, they are points that can be used to do different things during the game based on your army. For example, they gave, the one example they gave that's for sure in there is, remember how I said that normally a charging unit will strike first? Well, if you're charging me, if I want to, I can use 1 command point to make my unit strike first instead. Or for me to decide who goes first instead. So that's kind of cool. And again, that depends on when you build your army, you'll get certain command points and command benefits for doing that. I kind of think that sounds cool. But don't worry about this being abused, because there is a rule already in place. You can only use 1 command point per player per phase. So, well, per side. So if you're playing 2v2, one team can use 1 command point per phase. I want to be careful how I word that. One team can use 1 command point per phase, is what I kind of took it to be. Because if, you know, we're playing 2v2 and I use a command point and they use a command point, that might get a little ridiculous, but I know 1v1, anyway, they said that each person can use 1 command point per phase. So I can use 1 to make my guys go first, and then maybe you can use 1 to make your guys one strength more, or whatever. And all the command point abilities will depend on your army and what their theme is. You know, they probably, anyway, aren't going to make orcs use a command point to get better ballistic skill. Probably not. That doesn't really fit them, right? So they'll probably make orcs get something equivalent to rage, something like that, extra attacks, right? There will be new codexes present in the new edition, but they aren't. I don't think they said they're going to be out right at release. They're kind of be the Age of Sigmar, where they'll come out with the main rule books and then 5 rule books for what's going to be, you know, the main factions. Not individual races or chapters of Space Marines, for example, but, you know, they're going to come out with 5 new books for launch day. One of them, they said, is going to be Imperium, so that's going to be all, you know, your Imperial Guard, Space Marines, different chapters of Space Marines. So I'm guessing one's going to be Chaos. So there's 2 books. One is probably going to be Eldar, because there's different, you know, Harlequins, Dark Eldar, or regular Eldar, or Eldari, whatever they call themselves now. So that's probably how they're going to divide those books up. So it'd be kind of cool to see that. And then going forward, they're going to have codexes based on probably more narrowed down versions of those. More news, templates are going away. So your flamer templates, your large blast, your small blast templates, you won't need those anymore. And everybody gets new rules day 1. So no matter what you collect, you're going to be able to play it day 1. No matter what models you have in your army, you're playing it day 1. They also noted that the books, compared to older codexes, are going to be at a very low price point. They didn't say what the dollar figure was going to be, but they said very low compared to older codexes. I don't know about you guys, but I had to pay about 70 to 80 bucks for a new codex, and when they say very low, I'm personally expecting half price. So $35, $40 for, you know, I'm going to buy probably the Chaos/Chaos Demons one and the Imperium one and whatever ones the Necrons are in, because those are my armies. So I might have to buy 3 books, which will definitely help if they're about half price, right? They also noted how, again, they're going to have a points rebalance for the system. So if you had something earlier that, you know, was really cheap or that was really expensive, not worth bringing, that's all going to get rebalanced as well, aside from other things being rebalanced. Basically, they're retuning all the armies, essentially. So when the codexes, individual codexes come out as well, there's going to be things that are a little more narrative, explain more stories. Those come out too, kind of like, again, kind of like the Age of Sigmar has. Command point uses, if you've played expansions in the past, like Cities of Death, Planet Strike, things like that, they are working on what they said, bringing them up to speed. So if you like those will be coming back, and they will be kind of retooled for the new edition. They already have ideas for supplements in the works, which is kind of cool. They're already working on moving forward and supporting this. They've said will be, I'll want to read this because I want to make sure that you guys, if you haven't watched the video, they said it will be the most robust and balanced version of 40K, that it's been rigorously play-tested. One thing that I was kind of impressed with is that they said every Sunday they would have a meeting, whether it was Skype or something like that, for 8 to 10 hours every Sunday about their playtesting that their playtesting groups had done for the previous week. So that means they were playtesting multiple times a week with a lot of people. They said there were people in the States, in the UK, all over the world playtesting for them. Every Sunday they would meet for 8 to 10 hours to discuss how things had gone. This is overpowered. These guys need to be a little bit cheaper, stuff like that. So the fact they're putting that much effort into it really impresses me. There will be, and nice thing is match play, so that's a little more competitive. That's what, basically, if you play 7th, that's what you play now, is match play. Will be updated regularly, like the General's Handbook and Age of Sigmar, so they want to involve the community feedback in making updates to the book, which is really cool. They've been a lot better with that in the last few months, too, just making sure that they don't fix things on a whim, say, oh, you know, this one guy had a really bad game against the new Eldar Codex, we're going to change the Eldar Codex. So, no, they want to test it and make sure it's consistently something before they think they have to go in and fix it. Because you don't just want to fix something if you don't have to, if it's an isolated result. The free rules, so I'm guessing that's your main core, they said will be available free online, and if you have a Games Workshop store locally, or certain local gaming shops that aren't Games Workshop stores, will have them available for free in print on release day, which is kind of nice, but you have to get there early. They are also working on a 40K app, is being worked on, but it won't be ready for launch, unfortunately. If you've used the Age of Sigmar app that has an army builder and stuff in it, they said it may be something similar to that. There are also no specific rules for guidelines if you play a lot of tournaments. There are no specific rules that they're giving tournament organizers, just some suggestions and some guidelines. Like, hey, if you wanted to do this, you can. Here's how you would do that if you want to do this. But I'd like them not giving tournament organizers rules, because tournament organizers kind of want to tune it to their local audience. You know, if they make rules that say you have to structure your tournament this way, but maybe it's a smaller tournament, maybe there's only 10 or 12 guys there, maybe those rules don't fit for that kind of crowd. So the fact that they're still leaving it up to tournament organizers is something I like. Someone asked a really good question. It was a Facebook Live session, so they were answering questions from Facebook Live chat. They asked, what are the top 3 goals of the design team? The 3 answers they gave were kind of neat. They said they want to make a game that works for the 3 ways to play. Both your match play, so your competitive play, your narrative play, something if you're playing with new players or just want to have a fun game that's not super tuned and stuff, and open play. I'm not sure how open play would work, because that can be really broken if one guy decides to bring his good stuff, one guy decides to, you know, I would personally probably default to narrative play if I'm playing with new players, or if I'm playing with someone who's a little more experienced, default to match play. They also wanted to make all of the armies more accessible, and when they were talking about this, they talked about how they wanted to kind of tone down just the rules bog that we've been in. If you played recently at all, you know how deep the rules bog has gotten. Ooh. Sorry guys, go away. If you've played it all recently, you've known how deep the rules bog has gotten, and just, you know, it can take so long. Like I mentioned earlier, they went from 3 hours of DepthCon to being able to play a game in an hour and a half. That's how they want to simplify it, make everything more fluid, more natural, I guess you could say, rather than having to roll so many dice and lookout sirs and They just want it to be a more fluid game, which I can definitely appreciate. They also want to make more armories, more competitive by balancing. Now, things are never going to be perfectly balanced. That's just how it works. But they said this is so far it's been much better towards that. Units that you may have not brought before, they say you can now bring, and they aren't just attacks, essentially. They will actually have something, they have a role on the battlefield. I think this is because of the more anything can hurt anything rule, which I definitely like. I definitely appreciate that. Because, I have my bolter shooting at a land raider. Maybe I hit a bolt on the tread, knock the tread off. Maybe I do manage to get a shot through the slot on the visor, right? So anything can hurt anything is something. I do like something that can make the game a little bit more balanced, right? Because maybe you're playing at a tournament and you have that guy who brings the Titan list, and you are kind of an infantry fast shooty list, and you're just kind of like, oh, well, this happened. So I like that rule. The next thing they want to do, they moved a little bit more into narrative questions. So the big bads in the galaxy, once again, are chaos. They said that, they're really focusing on chaos being the main bad for the story going forward in 40K. This, I like that because I personally am a chaos player. I like them. But, Tyranids seem like they could be mean as well. So maybe doesn't make 100% sense in this fictional story that we all play a game about. But, just so you can see right there, Tyranids are mean. So they're a bit of a threat. But I do think, chaos needs to return to the fore as the big bad. Chaos can corrupt anything they want to. I know there's been things about, can they corrupt Necrons? Necrons don't have souls, etc., but Chaos can do pretty much whatever they want. And if you've seen the picture of the new map, it's getting a little scary. The one thing that I did appreciate that they've talked about this, they really emphasized it throughout the video, is how much development they've put into this, how much playtesting they've done. And they said that this edition, they kind of mentioned it in passing, has been in development for 18 to 24 months, which I'm really impressed about, which hopefully means they've gotten in 6 months or so of playtesting, of solid playtesting. They said that every unit in the game has been playtested. Every unit from every army has been playtested. So hopefully more than once, especially if they've been playtesting for a few months with that many people playtesting. Hopefully they've been doing it for a while. As far as release date goes, they didn't give a solid concrete answer, of course. They said it will be this year, and that window will be narrowed down very soon. So that's exactly what they said. It will be this year, and that will be narrowed down very soon to what exactly the release date is. I might have to say possibly summer. People starting maybe have some holidays they want to do for summer. They did say there would also be a big announcement at Warhammer Fest. Also, some big news at launch, there will be new factions at launch. They didn't go any further than that, give any hips or anything, but new factions, kind of cool, that we're also going to get rules for day one. So obviously, all the factions that are playable in 8th edition will have rules day one, which is kind of neat. They didn't say whether they were bringing old factions back like squats, you never know, or if they were just going to make completely new Xenos races or Imperium races, Chaos factions. They didn't say, but I'm expecting probably at least a new Xenos race, and kind of an offshoot of the Imperium or an offshoot of Chaos would be kind of cool too. Now, if you're wondering how everything hurts everything, and like if my Land Raider doesn't have armor values, well, it's going to get blown up really quick, right? Well, new coming out in 8th edition is your stats are not going to be capped at 10 anymore. You can go higher than Strength 10, higher than Toughness 10, higher than 10 hull points. So things will have a lot of wounds. Again, if you're familiar with Age of Sigmar at all, I know I've watched games where things have like 15, 18, 20 wounds. So, and that's how your damage table will work as well. So if you've, I don't know exactly how they're going to work for this, don't quote me on these numbers, but if your Land Raider says has 12 wounds, as an example, if it's 10 to 12 wounds, it's fine, operates normally. If it's 7 to 9 wounds left, maybe it's ballistic skill 3 and moves 3 inches less, something like that. If it's 4 to 6, maybe it's ballistic skill 2 and moves only 3 inches total. That's the kind of thing, the damage tables you can expect from that. Also, again, if you played Age of Sigmar, really good weapons cause multiple wounds. So if I hit you with my las cannon, you fail your whatever save you get, then maybe you take D3 hull points or D3 damage to your monster's creature. So that's how because they have so many more hull points, that's how they kind of balance that. And again, don't let the fact that I'm talking about Age of Sigmar so much scare you. Yes, at the beginning it wasn't the best. It wasn't balanced. There were infinite combos. There was no points cost to anything. but if you've watched anything last like 6 months of Age of Sigmar, they've really fixed it. They learned a lot, and they went back and fixed it, which I can really appreciate. When you do something wrong, if you just leave it and don't care, say, yeah, people buy the models, people buy the rules anyways, you don't care. They cared, they listened to the community, they went back and fixed it. I really think maybe there was like an internal employee shakeup, but I really appreciate that they went back and they fixed it. Allied forces, if you're wondering, do still exist, but because the system is going to be keyword driven, you're not going to run into that cross-faction Death Star anymore. As an example, if I have a Dark Angel giving a benefit, joining a unit of Space Wolves and giving them a benefit, he can't anymore. That benefit in the rules will say something to the extent of, this rule affects any unit with the Dark Angel keyword. So obviously Space Wolves won't have a Dark Angel keyword. They may have a Wolf or Wolfen keyword, something like that. That's how, again, they worked in Age of Sigmar, and it's really, you don't see a lot of Death Star units in that, which I can appreciate. You know, you want everything to have a chance to hurt something, or have a chance to kill something, right? That's what it's about. It's about swinging models and removing models. So the Death Star, the cross-unit Death Star that we've seen, you know, I know they FAQ'd the putting something in something else's drop pod, but they've corrected that going forward because of that keyword ability. They've emphasized close combat going forward, so obviously with the Chargers getting first strike and you getting a command point ability related to close combat, I think they're really going to emphasize close combat going forward, which a lot of people were wanting. You know, Orc players, they had a little bit weaker armies because they couldn't shoot very well, but once they got close combat, they kind of wrecked your face. So they really want to balance it between that close combat and shooting phases of the game. You will get benefits as well if you stick to one faction, so kind of getting back to that allied. For example, remember how I mentioned there are 14 different force organizations charts, including some really big ones? When they listed it, you got a lot of command points when you brought some of the bigger ones, so you can only bring bigger detachments if you stick to one faction, right? If you split across multiple factions, you can't bring one big thing from one faction and get fewer command points. You'll get more if you tend to stick to one faction, and maybe other benefits as well. They did say you would get benefits for sticking to one faction, so I'm betting it's more than just the command points. Also, if you've checked out the new map, you may notice there are systems missing or planets missing from the lore, but they made sure they want people to know, if you haven't heard it from lore directly, don't assume it. You know, there are planets missing from the new galaxy map that they put out on the community page, but if it's not on there, don't assume they blew it up. It is still there unless they said otherwise. Cadia, sorry. They have also said, going forward, now I don't know what they mean by this, and of course they always want to drive a little bit of the hype, but they said the storyline will develop going forward will blow people away. That's an exact quote. They said blow people away over the next couple of years. So how forward how much are they going to progress it? You know, there's the prophecy from that Dante novel where, you know, the Tyranids and Chaos are fighting over Terra and Dante sacrifices himself and the Emperor wakes up and all this stuff. Are they going there? I don't know. Or are they just driving a little bit of the hype train? We will see. So that was kind of the last questions they answered today. But going forward, they said on the community site, there will be new news, new posts every day going forward, from kind of Q&A sessions with playtest teams, interviews with playtest teams, kind of new little videos about stuff. Hope maybe we learn some more about how the storyline's progressing. Also, a note to players, if you're newer, or if you just recently bought a codex, they said any codex bought within the last 8 weeks, from today is April 24th, bought within the last 8 weeks, you can get a hold of GW's customer service, and they will issue a voucher for the price you paid, right? Hopefully you have your receipt, or you can go to the store and get your receipt reprint or something like that. But if you've bought it in the last 8 weeks, get a hold of Games Workshop customer service, they will issue a voucher for you. So essentially your codex became free, and you just have some, you know, new 8th edition books or some new models on a gift card for you. So it's definitely good of them to do. Doesn't screw over those players who are just starting, just bought all these books. I talked to a guy who bought his first couple boxes of models. He bought his first starter box, and he was about to buy codexes, but I was like, wait, buddy, no, don't do it. Which is kind of nice because my local gaming shop doesn't carry the codexes all the time. They'll order them in for you, no problem, but they don't constantly get them because there's not a huge community in town right now. So I was trying to groom this newer person. If you're watching, hi. And I said, no, don't buy the codexes, don't worry about it, but definitely buy some models because those are all good going forward. Alright guys, so that's kind of all I took from the Q&A session today with the dev team. Hopefully you're watching. If you did, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy the video, please like, share, subscribe. We're going to be going over 8th edition going forward as it comes out. We were talking about the books when they come out, what's included in them, how I feel about them. Hopefully we can get a couple games played, and I can let you know how those play out as well. This has been Gas City Gaming, Dave. This has been Dave from Gas City Gaming talking about Warhammer 40K 8th edition. And remember, guys, the Emperor protects.